talk about the Constitution, we're talking about justice and those things that happen. My name is Judd with Judah A. Lion. And obviously, we talked about J6 and the freedoms of the J6ers. Obviously, corporations are now funding certain candidates. Mike Pence obviously blocked the quorum that day. In addition to that, if I do investigations, Mike Pence was probably very involved in helping to get rid of you within the administration. Globalist corporations funded by China, funding these people. Are we ever going to get accountability? Can we get a commission or a group in Congress or somebody to investigate the funds that have been funded to these rhino candidates?
Yeah, so, you know what really bothered me the other day was that John Brennan, and I understand Clapper, former DNI and former CIA director John Brennan, were brought in to a hearing by Jim Jordan, and it was a friendly hearing. It was supposed to be a friendly hearing. They weren't subpoenaed, they weren't put under oath, and they're there in a back room. Okay?
Right.
Wow.
So that just happened. You guys, I hope you saw some of that. Some of you saw some of it. I mean, come on. And never mind, they signed a letter that to me is talk about seditious conspiracy.
Right.
Right? To undermine a sitting president of the United States of America while he is campaigning to be president again. And we now know that the CIA itself, people inside the CIA working on government time, facilitated the movement of that letter to those people. So all this is known, but yet Jim Jordan brings in these two at least, and I don't know who else, but I know that those two, and it's a friendly, like an interview. They worked it out. They worked it out. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, I think it was like the number I heard after a month, of being a speaker, she had like 500 subpoenas out.
So who, in your opinion,
let me get to be very specific. We cannot afford to continue to have this establishment class in our country, political class in our country, that is fed so much money.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how to overcome it. I really don't. I struggle. Like these events are just like, I'm not going to go and do something for these people or for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that here's some things that you can do or certainly think about. You need to go do them.
That's right.
We're talking, let's just say, I don't know, 170 million people that vote in this country. I mean, and maybe half of them. I mean, voting doesn't even matter anymore in terms of just voting. So I'm still saying you still got to vote. It still matters. 2024 will take a miracle. But we have an establishment class. It's like I said about governors. Not one governor has even admitted that the 2020 or 2022 might have been even partially, maybe a little bit fraudulent.
Right.
Now we have the Secretary of State, I think, in West Virginia, and I think the Lieutenant Governor of West Virginia.
Right.
I'd be paying really close attention to those two. They're great. To me,
Right.
they're starting to say it. So,
It's good.
for the other things, I'm gonna because I have some tricks on my sleeve. Okay, and that's to address specifically people that you just mentioned, because they're full of shit. They really are. Let me go with Steve in the back.
So why do you think Ron McDaniels doesn't appreciate the people that are working under? I know you're a committee man in Sarasota, and I'm a committee man in Broward County, and unless she starts to get the action, then the Republican Party's going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, the Republican National Committee chair, if I were in that seat, I would immediately pull together all of them right now. It's, what they do is they have these quarterly meetings, right? Forget quarterly meetings, we don't have time. Pull all these Republican Executive Committee chairs together. And I know the Democrats do this all the time, they're like masters at it. But the Republican National Committee chair should pull all the county, 3,126, I think, pull all the county chairs in to a meeting and say, number one, fill your volunteers up. Let's get people on board. Okay? I'm in a place where, I was told when I went to the first meeting to volunteer my time to go there and listen and be involved, and I went and worked at a poll and all that kind of stuff. The guy tells me, I asked, so how many people do you have? What's the number you got right now? It's 147. We brought in that night maybe 50, 70 people. So we were going to have 147 plus that number. And I said, well, how many are you supposed to have? I didn't know. This is like new to me, right? I didn't know. How many can you have in this county? 667. I was like, wow, why so few? Well, that's a number that I can control.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Republican,
Yes.
okay, chairperson. So, a Ronna McDaniel or anybody who's running the RNC, which is her right now, they ought to pull those people in and go, look, we can't win unless you are like reaching out positive. You build a culture of acceptability, I guess, to accept people into your organization. And they got to bring them in. And they've got to fill those coffers, because it's not just filling volunteers that come in to be committeemen. Now those committeemen can then, they go out into the different clubs within the counties and such. And some counties do matter more than others. They do matter more than others. So maybe she doesn't pull all 3,100 plus counties, and maybe she pulls in the top 100. But it's got to happen, because these people are not doing a service. What they do, the RNC does, is they bring together the state chairs. And they talk to the state chairs. And God, I don't know how many people have sent me nasty, nasty notes about state chairs all over the country. We can't stand this person. Why is this person, And I'm like, what am I to do about it?
Do you have any communication with them?
No. I don't.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Let me come back over here.
Yeah, go on. A question for you in regards to energy security and energy independence.
Yeah.
I'm running for Congress in West Virginia, and this is an issue that, West Virginia has vast natural
Yeah.
resources, some of the greatest in the Western Hemisphere. Can you talk to us about how us not having energy independence, how that affects us from a strategic standpoint in our place in the world and in keeping our country safe?
Yeah, if we only had coal, okay, we didn't have oil or gas or shale or hadn't developed nuclear energy, and you couldn't figure out how to use solar panels. If we only had coal, we have enough coal on the geography of the United States of America, principally in your neck of the woods, to take care of the rest of the world for 500 years.
Wow.
And so much coal exists. And people freak out about coal because it's black, right? It's dirty. But we got all kinds of things that have been developed with technology to have clean coal, and all this stuff, and to be able to return it back so we don't kill the environment and all that stuff and I'm a big environmentalist too. So just as a sidebar, I have been surfing for 50 years. You think I want to go surfing in brackish water? No. Or water filled with garbage? No. I love a nice clean ocean. So but you don't have to get crazy about it. But coal. But when we talk about nuclear, when we talk about shale, we talk about oil, natural gas, coal, and then other forms of energy. Right now, we have about the solar energy, globally, solar powered energy. When they talk about all this stuff, it's only taking care of about maybe 3% of the world's resources. So there's no way in the world these people that want solar panels and and cow dung or whatever. It's not gonna. It doesn't take care of what we need to take care of. So we have enough energy capability and resources to be able to be our own energy provider, which would, like when we talk about Saudi Arabia and how much OPEC is going to charge for a barrel of oil, and that means it's going to be that much more for a gallon of gas, we can do all of that, all of it, right here. When you look at the geography of the world and you look at where the United States sits geographically and the type of terrain that we have, just doing a topographical study and the kinds of things that we have, it's extraordinary, this gift that we have called the United States of America in this piece of geography that we have. It's unbelievable from the contiguous oceans that we have off both coasts and the things that we own, right? The things that we own, as well as what's on the land. It's unbelievable. But we we do all this other craziness, so, anyway, it's gonna be my last question.
Jennifer.
Last question, yes,
All
sir.
right. Will Jones, an apostolic conservative.
Yeah.
There was a big ruling this week in Georgia where voter GA had a fake ballot petition that got thrown out for no standing, like much of the election fraud that took place. Well, the higher courts received the appeal. They sent it back down to the lower court to take a look at it, to force them to look at the evidence. Do you have any thoughts on where they're going? And I would like to hear your 5G.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about that particular case, so forgive me. I would say that standing, okay, and this is in the article that I just wrote. On one of the paragraphs that I talked about this on the 2020 elections. Everybody remembers Texas put forward a Supreme Court basically case up to the Supreme Court, and they got, I forget how many states, they got maybe 16 or 19 states to go with them, and the Supreme Court turned around and said, you got no standing. And then if you remember a little bit more detail, there was like arguments between, that they were overheard in the Supreme Court that leaked between Clarence Thomas and Roberts, around that time. I mean, that case had clear standing.
Yeah.
They had clear standing. There was no reason why that case shouldn't have been heard. Roberts just didn't want to get involved in election interference cases, which is wrong, because we have these three equal branches of the government, and like even here in Florida, the 2000 election between Bush and Gore, the Supreme Court didn't decide the outcome. They didn't decide the outcome. The Supreme Court decided on the constitutional issues of the ballots that were in play, as well as some other issues. And they said, these are unconstitutional. Back to you, Florida, and you guys figure it out. And they went through their machinations, and they said, okay, based on those unconstitutional things that we did here, and I think it was Broward County, right? Based on those unconstitutional things, the winner for Florida goes to Bush in this case. And so there's clear standing. Roberts needs to understand that this idea, I mean, it's like you have a responsibility to the Constitution. We don't want you to tell us whether Trump and Biden won. We just want you to tell us, is that constitutional or not? That's your job.
Exactly.
If it's constitutional, then you know what? I'll shut up. All of us will shut up and we'll go away.
Yes.
But they didn't, and that could have solved it right then and there.
Yeah.
Not as to who won or lost, but whether or not what was the case that was put forward, whether it was constitutional, because a lot of the stuff that was in there was unconstitutional. But they said no standing.
No standing.
That's such a cop out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Such a cop out. Okay.
One more question, General Flynn. Bobby Powell from the Truth is
Hold on.
Viral.
Ooh, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got to split.